Ramana Jaya Jaya Navala Kishore Jaya Gopi Chitchora Prabhu Jaya Jaya Makhana Chore Jaya Jaya Makhana Chore Shri Krishna Chandra Bhagavan ki Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada ki. उपस्थित
Hare Krishna. All glories to Srila Prabhupada, Guru and Gauranga. I extend my warm greetings and welcome to all the senior Vaishnavas of International Society for Krishna Consciousness. I also extend my warm welcome to all the devotees who join us both online and offline on platforms like Facebook and YouTube. I also extend my welcome all the devotees who joined us on the Zoom platform and my Zoom family. And my special welcome to the host family, Sharma family from Sydney, Australia, Shri Shyamanand Prabhu, Madhvi Mataji, and their kids, Nikunj, Vrinda,
शर्मा परिवार श्यामानंद प्रभु माधवी माता केशव निताई और वृंदा और इनके भाई भी आज उपस्थित है.
I also extend a warm welcome to the brother of Sri Shyamanand Prabhu who have joined us today on this Katha. So I welcome each one of you to the second day Katha of 316th Bhagvat Katha. Kindly accept my humble obeisances. Radhe Shyam.
श्री तुलसी महिमा.
So we are going to
परम सौभाग्य है
narrate the glory of Tulsi Maharani.
श्री वृंदा देवी
It is a great fortune that Sri Vrinda Devi, Sri Vrindavani, the destroyer of sins, Krishna Prayasi, the lifeline of Sri Krishna,
Gauri, Apet Rakshasi,
Apet Rakshasi, Gauri, Shubh Lakshani, Dev Dundubi. So Tulsi Maharani is known by these several names. So such is the glory of Sri Tulsi Maharani. Sri Tulsi Maharani is all auspicious by all the means. She is all benevolent, and if you worship such Tulsi Maharani, if you offer your obeisances to such Tulsi Maharani, and especially if you listen to the Katha of Sri Tulsi Maharani, there is a complete assurance that all good things shall happen in our lives. Also, if you would listen to the Katha of Sri Tulsi Maharani, all the desires shall come true for all the devotees. In this world, if any individual, in whatever way, in whatever form, if goes on to establish a relationship or comes in contact with Tulsi Maharani, then without an iota of doubt, that individual shall attain Vrij Vrindavan Dham. Also, such an individual shall attain the services at the lotus feet of Sri Radha Shyam Sundar. Lord Sri Krishna had numerous wives. Lord Vishnu primarily has two wives. One, so one is the one who resides in the heart of Sri Vishnu, and the other one being the one who has been given the place at the lotus feet of Sri Vishnu. So one is Sri Lakshmi and the other being Sri Tulsi Devi. If you have this question in your mind and heart that our Lord Vishnu prefers or loves who? Is it Lakshmi ji or is it Tulsi ji? So I'm very confident that your answer would be that whosoever gives you all affluence, that would be a preferred one. So if I talk about the Shastras say that Lord Vishnu has more of affection towards Tulsi Maharani than Sri Lakshmi ji. The reason being that numerous people flock at the temples of Sri Vishnu, and majorly most of them have the desire of Lakshmi ji. And because they have a desire for Lakshmi ji, and because of the fact that these individuals have the desire of Lakshmi ji, so Lakshmi ji has to leave behind Sri Vishnu, but she has to also cater to her devotees as well. So she basically goes to her devotees, leaving behind Sri Vishnu ji. But Tulsi Maharani constantly, round the clock, is placed at the lotus feet of the Lord and serves him. Lakshmi ji keeps on making a movement away and towards Sri Vishnu, but Tulsi Maharani always stays at the lotus feet of the Lord. And that is the reason why Sri Vishnu prefers the services of Sri Tulsi Maharani more than Sri Lakshmi ji. This is what even Prabhupada has written. And even in Bhagvat Gita, Lord Sri Krishna has mentioned that, "Oh Arjun, if an individual constantly engages in the services towards me," so this word is often found in Bhagavatam, Satatam, Nityam. Lord always prefer a devotee who constantly engages in services. See, usually what happens with us, that out of strong influence and affection, we go on to do 64 rounds of chanting. And sometimes when we are not in the mood, we don't even chant one round. So in Gujarat, one word is very famous, that everyone performs dharma as per their own likings and dislikings. The fact is, Lord Shri Krishna prefers a devotee who is constantly engaged in the services towards him, and that is the reason why Tulsi Maharani is preferred more by Shri Vishnu, because she always stays at the lotus feet of the Lord. And this is the reason why Shri Lakshmi ji undergoes some jealousy against Tulsi Maharani. Now, this jealousy is more of a spiritual degree than the material world.
सो तुलसी की बड़ी महिमा है जिनका निरंतर भगवान के चरणों में वास है.
So there's a huge glory to Tulsi Maharani, who constantly stays at the lotus feet of the Lord. So if anyone was to ask a question, what is Tulsi? Who is Tulsi? So you see, you need to elaborate a lot because there's a huge and wide story to Tulsi Maharani. Tulsi is an entity wherein Naradji has sung the glory in immense number of verses. Tulsi Maharani is the power and potency of Vasudha. Tulsi Maharani is the form of Rig Veda. Tulsi is the lifeblood of Atharvaved. Tulsi is very much the lifeblood of all the Vedas. Tulsi is multiple form and a giver of all wounds, the friend of Lakshmi Ji, the lover of Sri Vishnu, killer of sins, the one who resides in Vrindavan, the one who is all complete, the one who takes away all the problems. If you offer her at the lotus feet of the Lord, if you offer water to her, she takes away all your sins. And if you listen to her glory, she absolves you of all the cycle of birth and death. This is the glory of Sri Tulsi Maharani. Marvelous glory of Tulsi Maharani. And now I am perplexed. Where do I begin from? Because you see, devotees, the glory of Tulsi Maharani is found everywhere. And if I was to collect the glory from all the Shastras, then it will itself create one big Puran by itself. So all our Shastras have elaborately written about the glory of Sri Tulsi Maharani.
चाहे रामायण हो या अन्य पुराण हो, इन सब के मूल में देवाधिदेव महादेव बैठे हैं.
So you see, our tradition is such that at the center of all our Shastras, primary speaker has been Lord Shiva, and primary speaker has been Lord Shiva, and primary listener has been Devi Parvati. So let us try to understand the glory of Sri Mati Tulsi Maharani by way of the conversation between Lord Shiva and Devi Parvati. Fifth in Padma Puran, Devi Parvati goes on to ask Lord Shiva that what is this Tulsi Maharani all about? Oh Lord Shiva, oh my husband, kindly share with me, kindly narrate to me the glory of Tulsi Maharani. So let us try to understand the conversation between Lord Shiva and Devi Parvati. So this shloka is from Padma Puran, spoken by Shri Lord Shiva. So Lord Shiva goes on to say the shloka before you on your screens.
विष्णुं तामपि जानीयात् सत्यं सत्यं न संशय सत्यं सत्यं न संशय. शिव जी पार्वती से कहते हैं कि
So
पार्वती,
Lord Shiva goes on to say to Devi Parvati, O Parvati, if an individual, so we're talking about a human being, every human being has a duty. This is a responsibility and dharma of every individual. So it is a bounden duty of every individual to tie the Tulsi Mala around the neck. So Tulsi Maharani's kanthi is to be worn by every individual or carries the leaves of Tulsi in the hair. So you must consider such an individual as Vishnu himself. So the one who carries Tulsi leaves on the head or wears Tulsi Mala in the neck is none less than Vishnu himself. So Lord Shiva is attempting to explain Devi Parvati that a wearer of Tulsi Mala, such an individual is not less than Sri Vishnu. He is to be considered as great as Lord Vishnu. And then Lord Shiva goes on to say, Satyam, Satyam, na sanshaya. So you see, Lord Shiva goes on to emphatically establish this by repeating this, that I'm speaking the truth and there is not even an iota of doubt. The wearer of Tulsi must be considered not less than Vishnu. So such an individual must be respected just like Vishnu. Oh Devi Parvati, the Rudraksh that I wear. So Lord Shiva goes on to say, O Devi Parvati, so Lord Shiva addresses Devi Parvati by showing his own Rudraksh.
बोले रुद्राक्ष आकार कारिते, बोले रुद्राक्ष के मोती की तरह तुलसी की डाली को, तुलसी के काष्ठ को रुद्राक्ष की मोती की तरह बनाकर निर्मिता, दूसरी लाइन में माली काम कंठे, उस तुलसी की लकड़ी को मोती की माला बनाकर निर्मित करके कंठे मालिकाम, कंठ में माला के रूप में निधार्यम अर्चनम आरंभेत, गले में तुलसी की कंठी पहनकर ही भगवान विष्णु की अर्चना करनी चाहिए.
So Lord Shiva tells Devi Parvati, showing his own Rudraksh mala, that converting the stem of Tulsi plant into Rudraksh like Kanthi mala, and only wearing such Kanthi mala, one must worship Lord Vishnu. I am very confident in this katha. Each one of you would be compelled to wear Tulsi Kanthi mala, all by your own liking and decision. So, this is being said in the shloka that any kind of worship, any kind of puja, any kind of archana that you shall do, it must all begin by wearing Kanthi mala, Tulsi Kanthi mala in the neck. Try to understand the principle behind it. See, be it any kind of worship towards the Lord, Thakurji, Laddu Gopal, God Nitai, or any demigods. So, any worship that you do, if you would do any worship, that offering, that worship will not reach the Lord. Why? What is that principle? So, the principle underlying is that if you worship Lord or that if you worship any demigod, it is important that your body is pure. So if I was to ask you, can anyone do the worship without having taken the bath? In our Pushti sect, this is followed very strongly, and even in our Iskcon and Gaudiya Parampara. Without having taken a bath, we cannot touch Thakurji, we cannot sit in any yagna, we cannot do any kind of service. Why do we need to take a bath? It is all because to purify the body. But if I was to ask a question to you, is it that once you take a bath with water that your body becomes pure? Even if you take a bath by mantras, can the body become clean? This body, this physical body, is a collection of solid waste, night waste, and urine. And you see, if the body goes on to become vacant, then a person cannot stay alive. So the body does have a lot of impurities, and such worship coming from this kind of body never reaches the Lord. But Lord Shiva goes on to say very clearly in the shloka, if any individual wears a kanti mala in the neck, then such a person becomes eligible to worship Lord or becomes eligible to offer services at the lotus feet of the Lord. So the fact is, you see, come what may, you make an attempt, this body can never become pure. But just in case if you wear tulsi, then certainly the work gets accomplished. So this is what Lord Shiva narrated to Devi Parvati. So any kind of worship, any kind of puja must begin by having worn Tulsi Kantimala. Further in the next shloka, Lord Shiva says,
अपने कंठ में माला धारण करनी चाहिए.
Lord Shiva goes on to say further, therefore you must make an effort to wear a Tulsi Mala in your neck. So you see, the Kanti Mala must be around the neck, and not that it should go on to suspend over other parts of the body or hang around other parts of the body. So when you wear a Tulsi Mala around your neck, then you become eligible to offer services at the lotus feet of Sri Vishnu. And if you offer services to Tulsi Maharani, if you offer services to Sri Vishnu by offering Tulsi leaves at the lotus feet of the Lord, and then you must take these Tulsi leaves on your head and have it in your mouth. So, so Devi Parvati is told by Lord Shiva that because of pandemic, people are not able to move out of their houses. You see, just like Baldev, it is impossible for every devotee to travel out, you see. So Lord Shiva goes on to offer solution. So you see, Prayag is considered to be the king of all pilgrim places. So if Prayag is mentioned, then we must comprehend it to be the fact that all the pilgrim places have been mentioned.
सभी तीर्थों में भ्रमण करने का फल प्राप्त हो जाएगा।
So whatever fruits you shall get when you visit all the pilgrims places, all such fruits and results would be attained by an individual if an individual wears a Tulsi Mala. So in other words, if you do not wear Tulsi Mala and that you're visiting numerous pilgrims places, then you shall not get any result. There's no point visiting numerous pilgrims places if you do not wear a Tulsi Kanti Mala.
इसलिए शिव जी पार्वती को आगे कहते हैं,
Further, Lord Shiva addresses Parvati Devi, O Devi Parvati,
च अक्षयम, तुलसी धारण करके, तुलसी की कंठी धारण करके सर्व कार्याणि, सारे कार्य आप करोगे।
so Lord Shiva goes on to tell Devi Parvati that after having worn a Tulsi Kanti Mala,
उसको संधि विच्छेद करना होगा। चाक्षयम जो है, च को अलग कर दीजिए, अक्षयम माने तुलसी धारण करके जो कर्म करते हैं,
so whatever karma that you perform after having worn the Kanti Mala, then the fruits and the results of such a karma becomes mortal. It will never
माला भी भूषित
decrease or it will never be affected or it will never see an end.
तुलसी कंठी धारण करके ही अपने जीवन
Hence,
के
you
सारे
see,
कर्म
Lord Shiva goes on to say that every individual must wear a Tulsi Mala and then he should perform all his duties and karma.
शिव जी कहते हैं,
Shivji goes on to say further that
देवतानां च कृतम कोटि गुणम भवेत, निवेद केशवम माला तुलसी काष्ठ निर्मिताम। तुलसी के काष्ठ की बनी हुई मालाओं से अलंकृत होकर,
so Lord Shiva goes on to say further that
और पितरों के
a Tulsi Mala made of the wood of Tulsi
तो उस कार्य का फल
and an individual who wears such a Tulsi Mala and then he performs the different worships and puja,
एक गुना
then the results and the fruits that he shall get would
लेकिन
be
शिव जी कहते हैं,
lakh the times the results ideally he shall get.
तुलसी माला धारण करके
So
आप
the effect
कोई
of
भी
Tulsi
कर्म
Mala
करोगे
is such that if you wear a Tulsi Mala and any work that you perform, any karma that you perform, the results that you shall get would be numerous times higher than in a normal condition.
वह ते यो नरो भक्त्या, बहुत
Shivji
सुंदर
goes
बात
on to say further,
यदि कोई भक्त
if a
तुलसी का
devotee
वहन करता है, सीधा
wears
सिद्धांत है,
Tulsi,
तो तुलसी उसका वहन करती है।
then Tulsi ji takes
वहन
care
करना
of
था
that
ना,
individual.
यदि
So
कोई
if a
भक्त
person carries
गले में
Tulsi
तुलसी
Mala
काष्ठ
in his
की
neck,
कंठी को उठाता
then
है,
actually Tulsi Maharani carries this person, takes care of this person.
आप किसी
And
संत
how
को
does that
देखते हैं,
happen? So let us consider an example. God forbid, if you are getting drowned in some waters, river, or stream,
कोई
and then
काष्ठ, कोई लकड़ा आपको
if
दिख
you
गया
happen to
और उस
spot
लकड़े को
a
पकड़
wood
लिया, तो
and
डूबने
that you
से
catch
बचेगा।
hold of that wood, then you would be saved
समुद्र
of
में
being
डूबते
drowned.
हुए काष्ठ का सहारा मिल गया तो
So
समुद्र को पार कर दोगे,
you see,
और
if you get a piece
भवसागर
of
में
wood
डूबते हुए
and that you would be able
तुलसी
to cross the
काष्ठ का
ocean,
सहारा मिल गया तो
and in the
भवसागर पार कर
spiritual
दोगे।
world, you would be able to cross the cosmic ocean if you
वहते
get to
यो नरो
have
भक्त्या,
the
इसलिए
support of Tulsi
हमें तुलसी
Maharani.
का वहन करना
And
चाहिए।
hence, we all must wear
वहते यो
Tulsi.
नरो भक्त्या तस्य नश्यति पापतम पापकम पदादिभि अभिचार्य इमं मंत्रम उदीरयेत। तुलसी धारण करने वाले का सारा पाप नष्ट खत्म हो
The
जाता
one who wears Tulsi, all his sins
नोट
get
किया होगा
exterminated.
कि जब हमने कथा प्रारंभ की तो
So you all must have noted
एक नया
that
श्लोक
in Mangalacharan,
उच्चारण
I
किया।
uttered a new
कुछ लोग
shloka.
कथा खा जाते हैं, कुछ लोग को पता है कि बस इसके बाद ये श्लोक आने वाला है, इसलिए मेरे साथ साथ बोलते हैं। फिर श्लोक कोई और आ जाता है तो फिर थोड़ा सा शर्मा जाते हैं कि अरे बाप रे, तो दूसरा आ गया। तो आज एक अलग श्लोक
So today I
बहुत सुंदर तुलसी
recited a new shloka.
अन्य कहीं नहीं है भक्तों।
So you see,
इस पर आगे आने वाले दिनों में
the
यदि
glory of Tulsi Maharani you would not be able to find anywhere else.
क्योंकि इस
The
श्लोक
glory
में इस श्लोक में
spoken by
पद्म पुराण
Lord
के
Shiva
पाताल
to
खंड में
Devi
ये बात
Parvati.
आई।
So in the
यदि मैं
Patal Khand of Padma Puran,
बीच में वो श्लोक
I
रखूं,
am presenting before you this four-lined shloka.
या दृष्टा निखिलांग संग शमनी स्पृष्टावपू पावनी रोगाणाममिवन्दिता निरसनी सिक्तान्तक त्रासिनी प्रत्यासति विधायिनी भगवत कृष्णस्य संरोपिता न्यस्त्यात् चरणे विमुक्तिफलदा तस्यै तुलस्यै नमः तस्यै तुलस्यै नमः। यूं तो शिव जी पार्वती को तुलसी जी की महिमा बताते हुए ये श्लोक कहते हैं,
Though this shloka is uttered by Lord Shiva as he explains the glory of Tulsi Maharani to Devi Parvati, but this shloka can also be uttered and offered by you as you offer your pranam to Tulsi Maharani. Very beautiful this shloka is. Let us try to understand this.
चार लाइन में चार महिमा है।
The four lines of the shloka
माने तुलसी जी
gives
को
us
बड़ी
four
महिमा
types of
है, दिया
glory.
है।
So, the first
या
line it
दृष्टा,
says
इतना तो
that
समझा
if
कि या
anyone gets
दृष्टा
to have a
तुलसी जी को
look
कोई
at
देखता है
Tulsi ji,
तो निखिल अघ
then what happens if anyone
संग
gets to
शमनी।
see Tulsi ji?
निखिल माने संपूर्ण,
So, Nikhil means all complete, Ag means sin.
निखिल अघ संग शमनी। तुलसी जी को देखने मात्र से
So, merely by looking at Tulsi Maharani,
वो सारे पाप
this
जलकर
sight
भस्म हो जाते
itself kills the numerous sins that we have accumulated over thousands of births.
पाप शमन हो जाते हैं।
So Tulsi Maharani has the potential to extinguish all the sins accumulated by an individual if an individual even looks towards Tulsi Maharani.
और तुलसी जी को स्पर्श
And
करने से
then if an individual
वपुः
touches
पावनी।
Tulsi Maharani, then what
तुलसी
happens?
जी को स्पर्श करने से हमारा वपु,
So
हमारा
the
शरीर
touch
पवित्र
of
हो
Tulsi
जाता है।
Maharani, if an
जैसे
individual
मैंने
goes
आपको
on
कहा
to
कि इस
touch
शरीर
Tulsi
में पाप का
Maharani,
पांड है,
then the
चाहे वो
physical
28 करोड़
body
चेहरा करे
becomes
तो भी पाप
all
नहीं होने
pure.
वाला।
So Tulsi Maharani
लेकिन
has
शिव
all
जी
the
ध्यान
powers
की
to
चोट से कहते
purify
हैं
the
कि
physical
तुलसी जी को
body of an
दृष्टा
individual
वपुः
if such an
पावनी,
individual
शरीर को पवित्र कर
touches
देती है।
Tulsi Maharani, if he gets to have the touch of Tulsi Maharani.
दर्शन तुलसी जी को देखने से
So
सारे पाप नष्ट हो
looking
जाते
at
हैं,
Tulsi Maharani, if you
स्पर्श
look at
करने
Tulsi
से
Maharani
शरीर
and if you
पवित्र
touch
हो
Tulsi
जाता है।
Maharani, then it purifies your body. If you see Tulsi Maharani, all your sins are
रोगाणाममिवन्दिता
exterminated that you have accumulated over different
निरसनी।
births. Then in the next
कहते
line,
हैं
it is being
रोगाणाम
said,
इव वंदिता निरसनी, और तुलसी जी को वंदन करने से
if you offer prayers to
शरीर के
Tulsi
सारे
Maharani,
रोग दूर हो
then
जाते हैं।
all the physical problems of the physical
रोगाणाम
body
वंदिता
gets
निरसनी,
eliminated.
तुलसी जी को वंदन करने से सारे रोग दूर हो
If
जाते
you
हैं।
offer your prayers to Tulsi Maharani, all the
चौथी
physical
महिमा
problems of your
सिक्ता
body will be
अंतक
vanishing.
त्रासिनी।
Lord
अद्भुत।
Shiva further goes on to
सिक्त
say
माने
to Devi
सिंचना,
Parvati
माने तुलसी जी
that
में जल डालना,
if
जल
anyone
अर्पण करना।
sprinkles water on Tulsi Maharani or
सो सिक्ता
waters Tulsi
तुलसी जी में
Maharani,
जल डालने से अंतक, अब अंतक को समझना
then
पड़ेगा।
in such a
कैसे
case, what
कहते हैं
happens? So for that we must
अंतक माने
understand this
हमारे
term
जीवन का
antak.
अंत
So, if I was to ask you who terminates our life, it is Yamraj ji. So, Yamraj ji is also called as Antak, who brings an end to the life story of an entity, of an individual. So, if an individual offers water to Tulsi Maharani, then even Yamraji is frightened from such an individual. So it is like you water Tulsi Maharani and it brings sweat on the forehead of Yamrajji. Further, Lord Shiva goes on to say, so Lord Shiva further goes on to say that if an individual goes on to plant the Tulsi plant, so the sight of Tulsi Maharani kills the sins. If you water the Tulsi plant, then it gives shivers to Yamrajji. And if you plant the Tulsi plant, if you grow Tulsi plant, it will bring you closer to Tulsi Maharani. It will bring you close to the Lord. So if you plant the Tulsi, then Tulsi Maharani will take you closer to the Lord. And if you offer the Tulsi leaf at the lotus feet of the Lord, so if you offer the leaves of Tulsi plant at the lotus feet of the Lord, so I offer my humble obeisances again and again to such Tulsi Maharani. So infinite is the glory of Tulsi Maharani. But we all are sitting here to listen to Bhagvat Katha. So you see, if I was to ask you, we can go on to talk about Tulsi Maharani for 70 days. But we all are sitting here to listen to Bhagavatam. So there can be a question in your mind and heart that in Bhagavatam, where is the mention of Tulsi Maharani? So you see, you need to have that vision to locate that. And because Acharyas have guided us very nicely that how Tulsi Maharani gets a mention in Shrimad Bhagavatam.
तो जब हम इसे स्मरण करते हैं, चिंतन करते हैं, पढ़ते हैं, तो हृदय चित आनंद आनंद हो जाता है. आज आप यदि आपने
So you see, if you have studied Bhagavatam, if you have recited the shlokas of Bhagavatam, then you see, you would get to realize with a lot of astonishment that Tulsi finds a mention even in Shrimad Bhagavatam. So let us start with Shrimad Bhagavatam. In the first, second, fourth, fifth, sixth, 10th, and in 10th canto, numerous times Tulsi Maharani has been mentioned.
श्रीमद् भागवत के प्रथम स्कंद में,
in the first canto of Shrimad Bhagavatam, so if I was to take you to very basic, how Shrimad Bhagavatam got created, how it got composed. So you see, Bhagavatam was not written actually What happened actually towards the end of age of Dwapar and age of Kali was to start, then Vedvyas ji had this thought in mind that till the age of Dwapar, the people of the world would go to their guru, would sit in the Gurukul and sought the knowledge of Bhagavatam and make their life meaningful. So there was not too much of things to be written. Guruji would speak and the disciples would absorb. But you see, today, even a single thing is repeated 50 times, but it is not understood and carried by the individual.
ये भी मुझे बहुत अच्छा लगता है। एक बार मैं ही श्रोताओं में बैठा था और कोई महाराज जी प्रवचन कर
So
रहे
it
थे।
so happened that once I was sitting as a listener and Maharajji was delivering a lecture. So Maharajji asked, the audience to speak and recite a shloka. Then a person sitting beside me said that if you ask us to recite a shloka, then what are you here for? We have called you here only to do the same thing. So what I'm trying to say that when Sri Vedvyas Muni saw that usually people would have lesser span of life, they would have less fortune, they would have less memory, short memory, and less intelligence. So Vedvyas Muniji had a thought that whatever Shastras are there, if I would compile, then the people of the age of Kali Yuga would be able to, go through it and make their life more meaningful. And this is the reason why Sri Vedvyas Muni began preparing the Shastras.
माया मुग्ध जीवे नाही स्वत स्मृति ज्ञान माया मुग्ध जीवे
So the shloka goes something like this.
स्वत स्मृति ज्ञान जीवेर कृपाये केला जीवेर कृपाये केला कृष्ण वेद पुराण सनातन
So what is being said in this shloka, Sanatan, that the people of this world are under the forces of illusory power. And that is the reason they would not be able to attain this true knowledge. And this is the reason why Lord Krishna appeared in the form of Vedvyas Muni, went on to write all the Shastras. For whom? For the people of age of Kali Yuga like you and me. First of all, Sri Vedvyas Muni went on to write the Vedas, Rig Veda, Sama Veda, Atharva Veda, and Yajur Veda. And after having written the four Vedas, but Vedvyas Muniji thought that the people of the age of Kali Yuga would not be able to comprehend the Vedas. But some might understand, but majority would not be able to understand. Then, in order to make the Vedas comprehensible, he went on to now write 108 Upanishads. So, four Vedas, 108 Upanishads. But still, Vedvyas ji was not satisfied. he had the feel that the age of the people of Kali Yuga, or everyone would not be able to have access to the Vedas. So Vedvyas Muniji went on to write 1 lakh shlokas Mahabharat for the people of age of Kali Yuga. So Vedvyas Muniji wrote 4 Vedas, 108 108 Upanishads, and then Mahabharat, but still he felt there is something which is missing. Then Vedvyas Muniji went on to write the Puranas, and the first Puran that he wrote was Markandeya Puran, which has 9,000 shlokas, Brahma Puran 10,000 shlokas, Vaman Puran 10,000 shlokas, Shiv Puran 11,000 shlokas, Brahman Puran 12,000 shlokas, Matsya Puran 14,000 shlokas, Bhavishya Puran which has 14,500 shlokas.
राउंड फिगर से काम चल जाता, लेकिन कुछ लोग लिख रहे हैं तो एग्जैक्ट ले लीजिए। भविष्य पुराण
Bhavishya Puran 14,500 shlokas, Agni Puran 15,400 shlokas, Narsingha Puran 17,000 shlokas, 19,000 shlokas in Karun Puran.
कोई पढ़ भी लेना तो भी कल्याण हो जाए। व्यास मुनि तो लिख रहे हैं, लिख रहे हैं। विष्णु पुराण लिखा,
Vishnu Puran 23,000 shlokas, Vayu Puran 24,000 shlokas, Varaha Puran 24,000 shlokas, 25,000 shlokas in Narad Puran, Padma Puran 55,000 shlokas, 81,000 shlokas.
हजारों लाखों श्लोक श्री
So, lakhs and lakhs of shlokas
मंथन करते हुए लिखते गए।
Vyas Muniji wrote
किसके लिए?
for the benefit of mankind of the age of Kali Yuga.
के नाम भी याद हो जाए ना तो प्रणाम करने का मन होगा कि भाई नाम याद है कम से कम। हमें तो
So you see, there is a strong possibility.
लेकिन अभी समाज में जागृति आ रही है, लोग
But you see, now people are becoming aware. They have started developing an interest towards the shlokas.
बहुत बड़ा काम किया।
But Vedvyasji achieved and established a wonderful thing.
क्योंकि बात याद रखिए, शस्त्र और शास्त्र,
So you see, always remember this, that the weapon and the shastra and the shastra are made of the same basic word.
और शास्त्र
The weapon goes on to kill the body, while the shastra goes on to kill your ignorance and false knowledge.
सब शास्त्र लिखे। लेकिन आश्चर्य की बात ये थी कि इतना कुछ लिखने के बाद भी श्री व्यास मुनि को संतुष्टि नहीं।
So, interestingly, still Vedvyasji, even after having written so many things, but still he was very much perplexed. He was very much worried.
व्यास मुनि ने अपने मन में सोचा
Because Vedvyasji thought in his mind and heart that I've written so many Shastras, Purans, etc.
कलयुग के जीवों के मन शांति के लिए,
in order to give peace to the minds and heart of the people of Kali Yuga, in order to bring about the goodness of the people of the age of Kali Yuga. If I am not myself convinced, then what good would it bring to the people of age of Kali Yuga? So you see, Vedvyasji is incarnation of the Lord Himself. He cannot be attached, but still, you see, the Lord went on to give us the principle that come what great you might be, come what intelligent you might be, but still that person, that individual does need a guru. Imagine who can be greater than Vedvyasji, but even Vedvyasji went on to develop the need for a guru. Then who are we? So when Vedvyasji developed the need to have a guru, then what about us? What is our status? So Vedvyasji went on to write such great works, but still he was feeling that there is something which is missing, and that brought tears into the eyes of Vedvyasji. So usually when there are problems in the life of an individual, he very often plays the blame game. But you see Vedvyasji, he has been so great that he did not blame anyone. But you see what is the case with Vedvyasji? That who should I blame?
क्योंकि शीश महल में हर एक चेहरा अपना लगता है, शीश महल में हर एक चेहरा अपना लगता है। मैं किस पर ब्लेम करूं, मैं किसको दोष दूं, क्योंकि
So
मैं
Vedvyasji is contemplating that who should I find a fault with? Who should I complain about? Because everyone appears to be mine.
दीवारों से लिपट कर अब रोना अच्छा लगता है, दीवारों से लिपट कर अब रोना अच्छा लगता है। हम भी पागल हो जाएंगे भगवंत ऐसा लगता है, हम भी पागल हो जाएंगे भगवंत ऐसा लगता है। इस बस्ती में हमारे आंसुओं को कौन पोंछेगा, जहाँ देखो उनका दामन भिगा लगता है। कहाँ जाऊं?
So where do I go? Says Vedvyasji. Who would bring an end to my worry? Imagine Vedvyasji is in a perplexed state of mind. He began off to bring the goodness to the people of age of Kali, but he himself went on to get confused. Now Vedvyasji is meditating upon the name of his guru in his heart. Nobody else can bring an end to his problem than his own guru. So, Vedvyasji at this time is present in Badrika Ashram, took a holy dip in Mandakini river, and the guru of Vedvyasji, Lord Narad, appeared as he was singing the names of Radha Krishna. So Naradji arrived in Badrika Ashram at Vedvyasji, looking at his guru Vedvyasji. Vedvyasji offered his hand to Naradji just like a patient gives his hand to the doctor for treatment. Naradji went on to say and ask him about the well-being. Vedvyasji said, "Oh my Guru, even I am completely unaware how am I doing. I began off to bring some welfare, some goodness to the humankind. 4 Ved, 108 Upanishads, 17 Puranas, but still I am not very much convinced. I am not at peace. When I am myself not at peace, how can I give peace to the people of Kali Yuga?" Then Naradji goes on to address Vedvyasji.
लेकिन एक गुरु और शिष्य का संबंध स्थापित करने के लिए, गुरु की आवश्यकता, गुरु की महिमा स्थापित करने के लिए,
So to establish the disciplic succession, this is basically being presented. And then the lecture that Naradji gave is marvelous. So Naradji addresses Vedvyasji.
मुनिवर, हे व्यास मुनि,
Naradji goes into address Vedvyasji. Oh Vedvyasji, whatever shastras that you wrote, the Vedas, the Puranas, the Upanishads, etc. So whatever literature you have written, you have mentioned numerous things and you have mentioned wonderfully well. With Vyasji, you missed out on one thing. And what was that one thing omitted by you? So basically, you missed out on mentioning the glory of Sri Krishna. So try to understand the principle here. Ved Vyasji had not written anything wrong. Ved Vyasji had gone on to write these Shastras for all the categories of people. For example, at a school,
किंडरगार्टन से लेकर नर्सरी जूनियर
so
सीनियर
just like in a school, right from kindergarten to 10th and 12th, there are facilities for all types of students.
तो व्यास मुनि ने ये जो ग्रंथ लिखे सभी ग्रेड माने सभी चेतना वालों के लिए ये ग्रंथ
So
लिखे
Ved Vyas ji went on to write the Shastras for all different categories of people.
आसक्ति तमोगुण में है वो कुछ करते नहीं तो केवल उनको ऊपर उठाने के
For
लिए
some
कुछ पुराण लिखे
Tamoguni people, he wrote some Puranas.
प्रवृत्ति के लोगों के लिए पुराण ग्रंथ लिखे कुछ सात्विक प्रकृति के लोगों के लिए ग्रंथ लिखे तो व्यास मुनि ने
So Ved Vyas ji went on to write the Shastras for all different categories of people.
मुनि का कहना क्या है
Narad ji is attempting to say that
आपने नर्सरी फर्स्ट ग्रेड सेकंड ग्रेड थर्ड ग्रेड फोर्थ
that no doubt you have written everything for all different categories of people,
आप लिखना ही भूल
but you have omitted the highest grade.
आपको टॉप मोस्ट धर्म तो बताना चाहिए मतलब अल्टीमेट गोल
Ideally, you should have mentioned the highest dharma,
में एडमिशन लेता है
the highest grade. So, for example, if anyone takes an admission in class nursery, then the path is from nursery, he must move progressively
यही हमारा गोल है
towards the higher grades.
तमोगुणी व्यक्ति रजोगुण की ओर आगे
So,
बढ़े रजोगुणी
if a person is in Tamogor, he must move to Rajogor. So, from Rajogor, he must move to Satogor. So, what ideally should be the goal for Satoguni person? Where must he reach? That is what has been missed out by Ved Vyas ji. So, for example, if anyone goes to a school, is it so that a person should spend a life over there? No. The goal is to move out of the school and move further in the life. So, the topmost grade, the topmost level has been omitted out by you.
पुराण गरुड़ पुराण ये पुराण वो पुराण में नीचे की चेतना वालों के लिए आपने जो वर्णन किया
So Naraji goes on to say, whatever you have mentioned for lowly placed conscious people is wonderfully placed, but then you have omitted out to mention anything for higher conscious people. So Naraji says, oh, Ved Vyasji, you did not write anything for Krishna devotees.
कृष्ण की कथा त्रिभुवन को पवित्र करने वाले कृष्ण के गुण
So the Katha, which can bring about good for all the three worlds, you have omitted out on that.
व्याकरण हो शब्दबद्धता हो छंद हो लेकिन उसमें कृष्ण का चरित्र न हो
So if
तो बड़े बड़े महात्मा
the character of Krishna is missing,
तीर्थम मुशंति मानसा बड़े बड़े लोग उसे कौवे का तीर्थ मानते हैं वो कूड़े कचरे से ज्यादा कुछ नहीं जहां कृष्ण की कथा नहीं है
so where there is no Krishna,
वाग्वी सर्गो जनका
there is nothing, absolutely nothing.
यद्यपि और दूसरी ओर
And on the other hand,
रचना में कोई कमी हो व्याकरण की कमी
even if there is any limitation any shortcoming in the creation of an individual, but if the glory of Sri Krishna has been mentioned, then even the Devi and Devtas, the saints and sadhus go on to recite because it has Krishna Katha. You did not write Krishna Katha, O Ved Vyasji, says Narad. Whatever granths and shastras that you have written, whatever success an individual can attain, but what shall he be able to get? It's nothing. So if an individual attains the lotus feet of the Lord, despite he fails in other dharmas, so the one who attains Hari, he has nothing else to be achieved.
अपने स्वधर्म को छोड़कर हरि के चरण जिसने प्राप्त कर लिए.
So the one who attains the lotus feet of the Lord, he has nothing else to be achieved. And if he achieves everything else other than the lotus feet of the Lord, then he has not achieved anything. Hiranyakashipu went on to do all his duties, but what could he achieve? Even Ravan had went on to follow all the dharma. What did he get? Even Kant was a great devotee, but what did he achieve finally? But if an individual goes on to attain Hari, the path on which the glory of Sri Krishna is sung, he will certainly attain Hari, be it Prahlad Maharaj or Dhruv. So this is a very beautiful shloka here which Narad Muni has spoken.
बहुत कुछ आपने लिखा, ये पुराण वो पुराण, जो लिखना चाहिए वो तो लिखा ही नहीं. आखिर ये सब पुराणों में सिद्धि हासिल करके.
So Narad ji goes on to say to Ved Vyas ji that what ideally should have been written has been omitted out by you. So what is the last grade? This is the last grade, says Narad ji.
भव सिंधु प्लवो दृष्टो हरि चर्यानुवर्णनम हरि चर्यानुवर्णनम. हे नारद मुनि,
So
इस संसार में जैसे आपका चित आतुर है, वैसे दुनिया में सभी.
So just as the heart is all confused and always wandering here and there, and all our sensory organs goes on to desire time and again. So you see, sense organ goes on to demand time and again. So the mind is not fixed, the heart is always wandering, and the sensory organs always keeps on demanding. Then such an individual for sure would be in confused state of mind in the material world. So even in such a situation, to cross the cosmic ocean, there is just one boat. So there is just one boat to cross the cosmic ocean. And what is that boat? That boat is Hari Katha, Hari Charcha, listening to Hari Katha again and again. And oh Vedvyas, you have missed out on Hari Katha.
बाकी सब कुछ हैं, देवी भागवत, गणेश पुराण, शिव पुराण बहुत गाए हैं। जो गाना चाहिए वो तो गाया ही नहीं आपने।
So ideally what is to be written has been omitted out by you. Oh Vedvyas ji,
ये जो मैं तुम्हारे सामने खड़ा हूं ना नारद, मेरा प्रथम जन्म ब्रह्मा के गोद से हुआ था।
I was
और
first
काश ये मान
born
लो मैंने शादी नहीं
from
की होती
Brahma and I
वैष्णव
did not
तो दूसरा जन्म उपबरहण
make a
ब्राह्मण कुल का हुआ।
marriage. So I went
हाँ
on to
बोलिए कुछ
become a
बोलिए।
demigod in the
ब्रह्मा
next
जी ने
birth
फिर से श्राप
and
दिया।
I
बोलिए
committed
ऐसा
an
कैसे हुआ?
offense.
चतुर्थ वर्ण
So in the
से शूद्र।
third birth,
हाँ
I was born in the family of a Shudra because of the curse hurled by Brahmaji. And my name in
पिता
the
का
third
नाम
birth
ब्रह्म
was
गुप्त
Ramdas.
और
Father
माता
was
का नाम था
Brumalgupt and
कलावती।
mother was Kalavati.
बचपन में ही पिताजी की मृत्यु हो गई और दरिद्र मेरी
My
माँ
father
घर
died
पर काम
in
करती
my
और
childhood
अलमारी की
days,
झाड़ू पोछा
and
करती
my poor
और अपना
mother
जीवन चलाती।
would do all the basic jobs
नारद
in
जी
the
ने अपनी
houses of
कथा
different
सुनाई
families. Now,
और
Naradji is
यह
narrating his
चौवन
own
चतुर्मास
story,
का समय था।
and the
साधु
time
संत
was
हमारे गांव में थे
Chaturmas.
और हमारी माता जी को
And
साधु
saints
संतों की
arrived in the
सेवा करने का
villages,
अवसर
and my
मिला।
mother got the
तो जब
opportunity
माता
to
जी
serve the
गांव में उनके लिए
saints.
भोजन बनाती पकाती
So,
सेवा
mother
करती
used to
तो
cook the
उस समय
meals
में
for
उस
the saints and
महात्माओं के
sadhus.
बीच में बैठकर
And in
कृष्ण
that
कथा
time,
सुनता था
I used to listen to Krishna Katha
और
sitting amongst
कृष्ण
the
कथा सुनकर
saints and
ऐसी
sadhus.
लगनी लगी,
And listening to Krishna Katha,
ऐसी लागी लगन,
I developed such strong dedication and
ऐसी
devotion.
लागी लगन, ऐसी लागी लगन, लागी लागी रे लगन, लागी लागी रे लगन, ऐसी लागी लगन मेरा हो गई मगन। वो तो गली गली हरि गुण गाने लगी, बैठी संतों के संग रंगी मोहन के रंग, मीरा रानी दीवानी कहाने लगी, ऐसी लागी लगन मीरा हो गई मगन। लगन लग गई। कैसे लगी? उन साधुओं के बीच में बैठकर उच्चिष्ट ले पान अनुमोदितो द्विजय, उन साधुओं के मुख से हरि कथा सुनी।
So, what kind of
सुनकर मेरा
attachment
मन हरि
did
में लग गया।
Naraji
फिर
develop?
एक दिन महात्मा
Naraji
जी की
says
मृत्यु हो
that
गई,
sitting amongst
श्री
those
भगवान
saints,
के शरणों
I
में गिर
developed
गया,
strong
हरि का
attachment
नाम
towards
लिया
Sri
और
Krishna.
हरि का
And
नाम
after the
लेते ही
death of
मुझे
my
नारद
mother,
का शरीर
I,
प्राप्त हो गया।
after some time,
आज
attained the lotus
2400
feet
वर्ष
of the
ऐसे यहाँ
Lord.
पर हरि का
And
नाम गाता
later
हूँ,
on, I got
मेरी
this
दुनिया
body
में
of
जहाँ
Narad.
जाता हूँ
Today,
आता हूँ नारद जी
wherever
की
I
लीला
go, whenever I go,
उसके वर्णन
howsoever I
करता
go,
हूँ और
I
गाता हूँ।
only chant the holy name of the Lord and I take the
सो व्यास
association
जी
of saints and
ने सब कुछ
sadhus.
लिखा, लेकिन कृष्ण की महिमा, कृष्ण कथा रचित
So, oh
भागवत की
Vedvyasji,
रचना
you
नहीं
have
की।
written numerous
तो
shastras,
भागवत
but
में
you have
लिखोगे
not written Bhagvatam.
न तो आपको सुख और
And
शांति
until
मिलेगी,
do you
न
do
धरती
that,
की जनता को सुख और शांति मिलेगी।
you will
गीता
not be at
संदेश
peace,
में ये है।
neither the
ये अन्य
people
पुराण
who
पढ़
would
के
read
सेवा
your
करने से
Puranas and
नहीं फल आता।
Shastras would not get
इसीलिए हम
peace.
व्यास मुनि
So
को
the
नहीं
principle
कहते
is
कि
very, very
हमारे नाम
clear
का क्या खास है,
that reading and studying the Shastras would
लेकिन
be meaningless, would not make much of a difference. For example, even Vedvyasji was not at peace after having compiled and written these Shastras.
भागवत की रचना करो इतना कहकर नारद
So
जी चले गए
Naradji asked
और
Vedvyasji
जहां
to
पर
write
व्यास जी जी ने
Bhagavatam and then he
अब
disappeared.
अपने
And
शिष्य
now
को कहा कि तुम से
Vedvyasji
कोई मत
took this
पूछे
vow
और सबको लंबा
to
होमवर्क
write
दिया
Bhagavatam, and he asked all his
कि
disciples
जैसे
not
वो
to come to
शास्त्र पढ़ो ना
Gurukul
तो इतना
and
लंबा
gave
लंबा
long
होमवर्क दे देते
homework
हैं,
to
पूरा
his
स्टूडेंट उसी
students.
में पड़ा रहता है। सबको कहा कि 150 श्लोक याद करके आना, उसके पहले मेरे पास कोई मत आना। तो सब चले गए श्लोक याद करने, व्यास मुनि अकेले हो गए
Now,
एकांत में।
Vedvyasji was all alone
और
in his
कहते हैं
ashram.
निर्गते नारदे सूते भगवान बादरायण श्रुतवान तद अभिपेत ततः किम करोद विदु ब्रह्म नद्याम सरस्वत्याम आश्रमे पश्चिमे तटे शम्या प्रास इति प्रोक्तम ऋषिणाम सत्रवर्धन। श्री व्यास मुनि ब्रह्म
Shri Vyas Muniji took the dip in Brahma Muhurat in Ganga and sat in his ashram. Now, Vedvyasji was sitting on an asan, took the water in his hand, did the achman and offered his heart towards Lord Krishna. Shri Sud Goswami goes on to write that Vedvyasji, by way of bhakti, so in the flip of a second, by way of bhakti, Vedvyasji was able to gain control over his heart. And as he controlled his heart, his eyes are closed, and in the mind and heart, he got to have the darshans of Radha Krishna. And as he had the darshans of Radha Krishna, Vedvyasji was able to have darshans of illusory force of Maya. And what was this illusory Maya? The illusory power which by all the three forces goes on to take control of all the individuals, goes on to hypnotize all the people, the illusory power which goes on to sometimes take to heaven or hell. Vedvyasji was able to have darshans of this illusory power when he was meditating. Vedvyasji Muni is closed with his eyes, has been able to have darshans of the Lord and also able to see the illusory power, and Vedvyasji is thinking upon the people of the age of Kali Yuga, and in that meditative pose he went on to see that what is the solution to free the individuals of the age of Kali Yuga from the bondage of the power of illusion. So he got to develop the solution, that the only solution that is there is Bhakti Yoga, and through Bhakti Yoga, worshipping Lord Shri Krishna. So even in Bhagvat Gita, Shri Krishna has gone on to say,
मम माया दुरक्तया, इस माया से कोई मुक्त नहीं हो पाएगा.
So only those who will recite the names of the Lord will remain uninfluenced by illusory power of Maya. That only those who are engaged in Krishna devotion shall be free of this power of illusion. So where does bhakti begin from? By listening to the Katha. And when would the people listen to Katha? When the Bhagavatam would have been written. So it is at that point of time Vedvyasji took a vow that to bring about the welfare to the people of age of Kali Yuga, in the same meditative pose, Vedvyasji went on to speak right after the other, the shlokas of Bhagavatam.
एक के बाद एक श्लोक व्यास मुनि कहते गए.
So Vedvyasji went on to speak shloka after shloka in that meditative pose, and Lord Ganesha was also present over there, and Ganesha went on to write as Vedvyasji was speaking. So this way 200 small shlokas, 335 1217 Uvaj. So in total 5,96,000 words and 18,000 shlokas were uttered by Vedvyas Muni. And Ganeshji went on to write each one of them, and that is how Bhagvat emerged. All glories to Shrimad Bhagavatam. Shri Goswami goes on to endorse this, that Bhagavatam appeared by way of Ved Vyasji, but an individual who listens to such Bhagavatam, such an individual will go on to attain bhakti of Supreme Personality of Godhead, which is Sri Krishna, and those who shall listen to it regularly in their lives, he would be free of the bondage of birth, death, and sufferings, etc. So now let us come to Tulsi Maharani, the point that I want to get across. So now you have a question in your mind and heart that Ved Vyasji is sitting in meditation and he has written entire Bhagavatam. Ved Vyasji in his meditative pose, the Bhagavatam that he wrote, I am presenting before you the first shloka of this. In this shloka, basically, is a kind of opening to Srimad Bhagavatam. So the first shloka, in the first shloka, Ved Vyasji is meditating upon Tulsi Maharani. And in this tradition, Srila Prabhupada went on to establish Tulsi Maharani wherever there is Bhagavatam going on. So you see in all Iskcon temples, wherever there is lecture, wherever there is preaching, Tulsi Maharani is also there. So Ved Vyasji went on to speak Bhagavatam by offering his obeisances to Tulsi Maharani. So the shloka is there before you on your screens.
तेने ब्रह्म हृदय आदि कवये मुह्यन्ति यत् सूरय तेजो वारि मृदां यथा विनिमयो यत्र त्रिसर्गो मृषा धाम्ना स्वेन सदा निरस्तकुहकं सत्यं परं धीमहि सत्यं परं धीमहि. So Shri Vyas Muni.
So in this manner, Ved Vyasji is beginning Bhagavatam with the shloka. You might have listened and read the shloka thousands of times, but the explanation of this shloka has been given by Vanshidharji. So let us first understand Vanshidharji. So centuries ago, our commentators went on to study Shrimad Bhagavatam, and whatever thoughts they developed, they wrote commentaries. They presented commentaries. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu used to study the commentaries, and in a way he kind of certified Sridhar Swami's commentaries. So Bhagvat is the commentary by Sridhar Goswami on Shrimad Bhagavatam. So Bhagvat is the commentary of Sripad Goswami. But even the explanation of Sridhar Goswami is very, very tough. Vanshidhar Acharya went on to explain further the commentary of Sridhar Goswami. Now, Vanshidhar Acharya gave 100 definitions to the first shloka of Srimad Bhagavatam. Now, I will present before you one explanation out of the 100 definitions. So, shloka is there on the top right hand side of your screen, and the commentary shloka is there at the bottom of your screens.
ये मिलेगा भी कि नहीं। अब देखिए, ये 4 लाइन का श्लोक है। ये ऊपर की 3 लाइन हम बाद में समझेंगे। शुरू करना है चौथी लाइन के अंत से। चौथी लाइन के अंत में व्यास मुनि ने क्या कहा?
So in the fourth line of the shloka, what Vyasji said,
गायत्री मंत्र में भी ये शब्द है,
Satyam Param Dhimahi.
अब सत्यम परम धीमहि का अर्थ क्या है? उसको
So, what is the meaning of Satyam Param Dhimahi? Vanshidhar Acharya wrote in Bhavarth Deepika.
इतनी है कि ये केवल संस्कृत में है, तो इसको समझने के लिए थोड़ा सा समय और थोड़ी बुद्धि और थोड़ा सा नॉलेज चाहिए, लेकिन कुछ बात आसानी से आप सत्यम परम धीमहि।
So Satyam Param Dhimahi, what is the meaning of this?
सीधा सीधा समझना हो, टीका को न समझकर पढ़कर, तो हम क्या समझेंगे? परम सत्य धीम।
So in the simple terms, Satyam Param Dhimahi means we are meditating. So we are meditating upon Param Satya, ultimate Satya. So the question is, who is Param Satya? And then Vanshidhar Acharya goes on to say, Satyam Param Dhimahi, Vayam Tyam Tulsi Tanum Sada Hrida Dhimahi. So this is the meaning of Satyam Param Dhimahi. So the explanation of Satyam Param Dhimahi is the next line, Vayam Tyam Tulsi Tanum Sada Hrida Dhimahi. Vanshidhar Acharya goes on to say that Tulsi ji is sitting before us. So when Vyas Muniji was speaking Bhagavatam, then Tulsi ji was present before him. So Tulsi Devi,
हम इस तुलसी देवी को, इस तुलसी के पौधे, इस स्वरूप को सदा सदा के लिए हृदय में ध्यान कर रहे हैं।
So it is said, the meaning says that we are meditating upon Tulsi Maharani, who has been installed before us, and now she is installed in our hearts.
आचार्यों की टीकाओं के साथ हमारे आचार्यों ने ये प्रमाणित किया है। ओके, तो इतना समझ में आ गया। अब ज्यादा आपको सब आगे पीछे का नॉलेज है, इसलिए मैं सीधा ही उठा रहा हूं। तो सत्यम परम देव सदा,
always Tulsi Devi is there in our hearts and begins to utter Bhagavatam.
ये तुलसी देवी कौन है? उनका परिचय।
So suppose if anyone asked some introduction of Tulsi Devi, then in the shloka, even Tulsi introduction is mentioned by Vanshidhar ji. So who is Tulsi Devi? Janma Dhasya. So you see the glory of Tulsi ji is being mentioned in every word. So if you look at the word in the upper shloka, Janma Dhasya. So just as we are sitting in the Katha and listening to Katha is Bhakti, then this Bhakti began actually from Tulsi. So who gave birth to Bhakti? It is Tulsi Maharani. So where Bhakti begins from is Tulsi. So Janma Dasya, if you break this word Janma Adi, Janm etc. means Jan, means birth. So who is Tulsi? Tulsi is one who gives birth to our bhakti. Tulsi is one who gives nutrition to our bhakti, who sustains bhakti. And such a Tulsi, you know, if we commit an offense towards Tulsi, it exterminates all our bhakti. So birth, sustaining, and even the end is being done by Tulsi ji. So we are meditating upon such Tulsi Maharani. So what is the illustration of proof? So we all sing this in our Tulsi Aarti every day.
वृंदाए तुलसी देव्ये प्रियाय केशवस्यश्च कृष्ण भक्ति प्रदे देवी सत्यवत्ये नमो नमः। बोलिए वृंदाए
Vrindaye Tulsi Devyay Priyaye Keshavasya cha Krishna Bhakti Prade Devi Satyavate Namo Namah. Janmadhasya. This is what we are attempting to understand. The first word alone. Our bhakti originates from Tulsi, and the proof is the shloka. So Tulsi has two names. One is Vrinda Devi and the other one being Tulsi Devi. So who is Vrinda and Tulsi? So who is Vrinda Devi and Tulsi Devi? She is the one who is very, very dear to Sri Krishna. And what does she do? And what does Tulsi Devi do? She is the giver of Krishna devotion. So we meditate upon Tulsi because Tulsi is the one who gives rise to bhakti, who offers, who gives devotion to Sri Krishna. And she who is the epitome of truthfulness. And we offer our obeisances to such Tulsi Maharani.
और इसको जन्मादस्य से देखा जाए तो जिससे हमारी भक्ति का जन्म होता है, जिससे भक्ति का पोषण होता है, और आगे आने वाले दिनों में सुनेंगे कि यदि नियमों का पालन न करे और तुलसी
if one does not follow the protocols and wear Tulsi Maharani's Kantimala, then devotion or bhakti goes on to decline.
माने इसका अर्थ है जो प्रत्यक्ष रूप से और अप्रत्यक्ष रूप से हमारे भौतिक और आध्यात्मिक दुख को जानती हैं और उसे
So who is Tulsi Maharani? Tulsi Maharani is one who knows our problems and issues of the devotional life, and she takes away all the problems of our devotional life. And Tulsi Maharani is all aware. Why? And this has been said by the sadhus and saints of Braj. Very beautiful.
करुणामयी माता तुलसी जी हरि
Oh, Tulsi Maharani.
प्रेममयी और करुणामयी माँ है तुलसी और हरि भक्तों की भाग्य विधाता है तुलसी। और आगे कहते हैं कबहू न भक्तन करई निराशा, कबहू न भक्तन करहि निराशा मंगलमयी पूज इय अभिलाषा। सो कभी भी भक्तों को निराश नहीं करती, बिना कहे हमारे प्रत्यक्ष और अप्रत्यक्ष रूप से हम सब के दुख को जानती है तुलसी।
Tulsi Maharani directly or indirectly knows all the problems of our lives. And the last word in the second line is Swarat. So Swarat means independent, all free. So Tulsi Maharani is all free. So Tulsi Maharani is all free and independent to offer us bhakti and devotion. So Tulsi Maharani is in a way completely free and independent to offer us devotion without any parameter. So you see, demigods have their own protocols, and in permutation combination they offer devotion. But Tulsi Maharani is all free without any reason, without considering whether we have qualifications or not. Tulsi Maharani goes on to offer devotion. So Tulsi Maharani can lift us and place us besides the Lord.
अब देखिए, आप किसी कंपनी में काम करते हो और ज्यादा पढ़े लिखे नहीं हो, तो जो नॉर्मल जॉब होती है वही मिलती है। अब जीवन भर काम करो, घिसो, लेकिन अपनी काबिलियत, अपनी योग्यता से आगे नहीं बढ़ पाएंगे। लेकिन उस कंपनी का मैनेजर यदि चाहे तो उठाकर सीधे मालिक की ऑफिस में बिठा सकता है, यदि वो चाहे तो। उनके पास स्वतंत्रता। ठीक उसी प्रकार,
So just as in any company today, a manager would have the powers to place you anywhere despite the fact whether you have qualifications or not. Similarly, Tulsi Maharani is all free to place you at the lotus feet of the Lord. And this is the reason why Narottam Das Thakur went on to say in the form of shloka at the bottom of your screens.
दिन कृष्ण दासे कोई एही जे न मोर होय, श्री राधा गोविंद प्रेमे सदाये न भासी, तुलसी कृष्ण प्रेयसी नमो नमः। नरोत्तम दास ठाकुर कहते हैं
So Narottam Das Thakur goes on to say that I am so fallen, I am so poor, I am bereft of any qualification, any qualities. I have no qualifications at all. But oh Tulsi Devi, you're all free, you're all independent.
राधा गोविंद प्रेमे सदा सदा के लिए मेरे हृदय में राधा गोविंद के प्रति प्रेम प्रकट हो जाए।
So please, you be merciful on me. Give me the blessing that you develop, the blessings for me, that for all times to come, I develop the love and affection towards Sri Radha Govind.
इसलिए स्वराट, क्योंकि वो स्वतंत्र है, स्वराट है। So भक्तों, समय हो चुका है।
So time is running out. We will bring a close to today's session here. And I'm very confident you must be feeling very loaded with the first line of the first sloka of Shrimad Bhagavatam.
श्रीमद् भागवत में और भी अनेकों स्थानों पर श्री तुलसी देवी की महिमा है, कुछ श्लोकों में तो कुछ कथाओं में, तो ये सब हम
So other than Shrimad Bhagavatam, the glory of Tulsi Maharani is mentioned at numerous places, and we will attempt to touch upon them and try to move towards the devotion at the lotus feet of our Lord. So I thank each one of you from the core of my heart. My special thanks to Sharma family, the host family from Sydney, Australia, our Shyamanand Prabhu, Madhvi Mataji, Keshav, Vrinda, and Nitai. So I extend my huge thanks to all the members of the host family. Interestingly, Vrinda is their daughter, and this is the story and the katha going on for Vrinda Devi. So let us bring a close to this session today with some announcements. And we will also pick up certain questions and bring a close to the session.
ग्रंथराज श्रीमद् भागवतम महापुराण की, श्री कृष्णचंद्र भगवान की, श्री तुलसी महारानी